right, welcome into Freshly Pressed on a Monday morning. This is the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. We love music and we love life as well. And we also love to keep up with what's going on in the news cycle. That is what we get up to at 7:30 on weekdays on the show. The stories from across the dailies in Nigeria. Analysis is on the cards as well. And we look forward to you sharing your thoughts and your perspectives with us. Join us on WhatsApp, join us on YouTube as well. Let us know where your head is at, what you feel about the stories and solutions at all. It's a mishmash of all the good stuff. Join us on WhatsApp. The number is 0911 999 0981 That is the WhatsApp number to send your messages. So you can also leave your messages and your comments on YouTube. You can find us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. My name is Ayokunmi Kekere. It's a pleasure to have you with us this morning. Also a pleasure to have with me the two gentlemen to take a look at the stories, analyze, and of course, give some perspective, very much needed perspective, Mr. C, and of course, AB Bozimo. AB, good morning to you. Welcome into an intro and a brand new week.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning to all of the wonderful listeners out there. I celebrate the fact that as we wake up today, we are not noting that we have lost any of our brethren in the country. Fortunately, hopefully, we all enter the weekend alive and we've come out alive apart from natural passings on.
All right, thank you, AB. Mr. C, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, AB. Good morning, Lagos. Welcome, Data Sport.
All right. Let's begin our journey this morning talking about matters that have to do with security. That is one of the hot button issues in the country at the moment. The Daily Trust as well will be starting this. Mr. C, the Kogi State government has ordered the temporary closure of selected markets and motor parks in the Western District of the state as part of intensified and coordinated security operations in the affected area. The state Commissioner for Information and Communications, Kingsley Femifan, will disclose this on Sunday in local Jawal briefing journalists. Now, he said the measure was aimed at flushing out terrorists, bandits, and other criminal elements operating within parts of the state. Now, according to this explanation here, Mr. C, the temporary closure was designed to cut off logistics, restrict the movement of consumables, and also to deny criminal elements as well as their informants access to food supplies and other forms of support during the security exercise. Now, I'm just wondering, Mr. C, if you go to supermarket A for supplies and supermarket A, for whatever reason, isn't working or isn't open, will you not go to supermarket B, C, D, and co?
Yes, you will. To answer your question directly. But for the benefit of the listeners, we need to understand how we got here. So last week, we saw the deadly attacks on two communities, the Woro community and the other community in Kaima, in Kwara, where we lost over 176 Nigerians. In any other country, it will not be business as usual. The country will be in mourning. We don't even know the names of those who died, and we continue to pray that their souls will find rest in peace and that their families will find the comfort they need at a time like this. Now, what happened in Kwara has had a direct effect on what is going on in Kogi. Do not forget that they share common borders.
Yeah.
Now, recent reports, recent intelligence suggests there has been a convergence of the different non-state terrorist actors in the Kainji National Park area. Now, let's not forget that from that park to Kwara is about 90 minutes. And then from that park to Lagos is about 6 hours or 8 hours. Now, the Kogi state government is trying to be proactive because it says it's working together with the Office of the NSA and the military authorities to flush out non-state terrorist actors within its territory. Now, it's described this closure of the markets and motor parks as temporary. Now, the whole idea is this: they need to starve the beast. What is the beast? The system or arrangement that is feeding and strengthening these local terrorist networks. And that includes where they get food from and even the ability to meet the informants.
Right.
Now, whilst this is good from a military perspective, from a security perspective, from a social and economic perspective, it places a lot of strain on the people because let's not forget there are people who depend on their daily income to survive. So we're talking the market laborers, we're talking the market traders, we're talking the drivers who need to pick up passengers, move them from one point to other points.
Yeah.
That is not going to happen for a while. We don't know how long this temporary closure will be. Then furthermore, even if they're successful in flushing these guys out of the Kogi area, ladies and gentlemen, we have steadily seen a move from these non-state terrorist actors, and to some extent, they've succeeded in establishing a foothold in the northeast. They've come down to the north central because north central, Niger, Kwara, Kogi, they're constantly hitting them. If you flush them out of the north central, the next place they're coming to, ladies and gentlemen, is the southwest. Now, it's instructive that the southwest governors met recently and they're strengthening their borders. They're strengthening Amotekun, which every state seems to have, apart from Lagos. I've not seen Amotekun in Lagos. Well, maybe the version of Amotekun in Lagos is the neighborhoods and safety corps. Those guys that wear blue and cream or blue and yellow.
Uh, are they even managed to carry weapons at all? As far as I know, they're not.
Okay, so it would be good to know what the Lagos state version of Amotekun is. But the truth of the matter is security is no longer a foreign affair. It's now a local matter. What happens in Kogi or Kwara has an effect, direct or indirect, on Lagos. So yes, we're all praying that they clear out the non-state actors in Kogi. But if you clear them out, they're naturally going to move to the southeast. And they will start with places like Oshun and Oyo, then work their way in. Now, the bigger question is, since military intelligence places them inside the Kainji National Park, what is the difficulty in levying the police? Yes, you're going to lose wildlife. There may be a few casualties, innocent casualties. But when you weigh it against the larger good of the society, what is stopping us? Are we waiting for them to set up another logistics hub somewhere else? And then we start scrambling again because each time it looks as if they're being allowed to dictate the pace and the reaction of the Nigerian security forces. So these are very big questions. And this security problem, it's a collective effort. But here we are.
Here we are. AB, I'm looking at what is happening in Kogi State now, the closure of the parks and so on and so forth. Doesn't that also send a message to these non-state actors that, hey, it seems like we are winning in this battle, and that spurs them on to even do more?
Exactly. You see, the main goal of terrorism is to disrupt regular life, society, and expectations. And if I cannot wake up today, Monday, and go to the market that is normally scheduled sometimes every 4 days and get my plastic items, my yam, and so on, they have successfully disrupted me. People in Nigeria honestly do not have time or money to have stockpiled anything. So what is actually going to happen to the people? But and so I understand the short-term thinking, but that's actually the bane of Nigeria, short-termism. We don't have leaders who can look beyond their noses or even up to the tips of their noses. Part of this story that really touched me is this. A former commandant of the Army Army Secretary Chief of Defense Training and Planning, Major General Ishola Williams, has criticized the military's long-running counterterrorism strategy, saying we have failed to learn or adapt despite over a decade of fighting insurgency. Let me ask a question. For those of us who are old enough, there was something called a landline. It sat in your house. It was connected by a wire to somewhere on the wall, and everybody had to come to that particular space to use it. So if you call that line, you would get one person and you now summon the person. Today, we all have mobile phones, i.e., over the past 10, 15 plus years, we have moved in technology. Why would we still be using what is being used or what was the initial solution? Even for me, when I started in school, we were using pen and ink. Now it's computers. The military cannot simply explain to anyone why they're still seeming to use, like Mr. C said, they are drones. There are ways to determine people, collecting in a place like Angie. Locate those places. You don't even have to level the whole place. Investigate first. Send small groups of soldiers to see. If you see a group of 30 men in a place, they are not 30 men who have a village and children are not likely to be the people. If you see 30 people with 40 motorcycles, level the place first. Ask questions later.
Okay, so I just wanted to add one more thing. The attacks in Kwara last week happened over a 10-hour period. That is a glaring operational failure. Yet, as we speak, we're not aware of any investigation. Are we going to sweep that under the carpet?
Well, we have been sweeping a lot of things under the carpet, Mr. C. We've been
under
asking
the
questions
carpet
in
must be
Kebbi,
full.
asking questions in Kwara, and so on and so forth, as to who gave orders and so on. So
we need, like
yeah.
AB said, we need more intelligence. It's not just to put boots on the ground. We need human intelligence. We need electronic intelligence. And the sooner it starts, the better for all of us.
All right, this is Emeka Nikeja on WhatsApp, who says closing schools or markets means terror is expanding and winning. This is a testimony that the state and security agencies are overwhelmed and in disarray. Please, where are the Tucano jets? I want to believe they're in a hangar somewhere, perhaps, at this point in time. Sonny from Surulere says, good morning, gentlemen. On the security moves in Kogi, this is a classic case of punishing 95% because of the 5%. There are smarter and more tactical ways to manage this. State governors should not play with this development and honestly should be more proactive. Please give us state policing. All right, thank you for the messages. Keep them coming in. All right, AB, let us move over to the Vanguard and talk about the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB. They've announced the permanent cancellation of the Monday sit-at-home directive across the Southeast, effective today, February 9, 2026. Now, the directive comes directly from the IPOB leader, Mazin Amdi Kanu, who emphasized that the people should return to schools, workplaces, and markets without fear or intimidation. AB, 5 years after this order has been given, and you just wonder, what exactly did that directive actually achieve within that period?
It achieved a heightening of the sense and state of insecurity in the Southeast. It led to the unnecessary deaths of very many people. It reduced the economic fervor and fire of a certain part of the country, arguably one of the most productive parts and people in Nigeria. And so, on balance, I understand the concept of like a hunger strike to make a point. But when I think on balance of what has happened to people and the inability for you to function in the Southeast on every Monday, and that means you'd have to plan for the day before, exclude that day, and think about it, it's been on balance unfortunate, because I think it has 20% of the official working days to be shut down is a major economic, reduction. But on balance, this story is not a long story. I want to be happy for those in the Southeast, not just the traders, everybody. People couldn't go to school. There were exams that couldn't happen on a Monday. It was very unfortunate. Now, IPOB makes a statement. IPOB that's prescribed. Interesting. That just shows that the federal government prescription did not reach the heart and minds of people. We can put this side by side with the recent shenanigans the recent situation happening in Anambra, where the main Onitsha market was shut down. IPOB is warning of possible people who will now try and still attack people. But this means that our security forces have to be absolutely on point. They have to isolate the criminal factors, because many people under the guise of IPOB too were just carrying out pure criminality. So this gives people an opportunity to isolate the criminals and punish them to the highest extent. So kudos to the people of the Southeast, and in fact to the people of Nigeria, because just like we're talking about Woro and Kayanji, when I was a child, my parents used to drive us down from Zaria to the Delta State, and we used to stop at a lodge in Kayanji and use those lamps that had, the glass and everything. I remember it very fondly. So almost everybody has a connection with everybody. In the Southeast, I can go there for buying things. I have aunties staying there. I have cousins there. We are all connected, and I'm very happy that the Southeast sit-at-home order, for what it's worth, has been formally shut down by a person who called for it at the time. And they have said if anybody does it, they are acting in breach of the original directive.
All right, thank you, Amy, for sharing those thoughts there, Mr. C. Let's keep the ball rolling. A number of things to get through this morning, and we shall be stepping into, where are we going to at the moment? Aha, the Daily Post. I've been looking forward to this story since I actually saw it. Well, ahead of the 2027 elections in Nigeria, Senate President Godswill Akpabio has justified the removal of the mandatory electronic transmission of results from the amended Electoral Act. Now, it was reported that the Senate had last week removed mandatory e-transmission of election results from the legislation. Now, the Senate's decision sparked controversy across the country, with Nigerians, including opposition parties and the Nigerian Bar Association, urging the lawmakers to reverse the decision. Now, while now responding to this controversy during a book launch, Senator Akpabio blasted critics, noting that it is the responsibility of the independent National Electoral Commission to actually determine the modality of the elections, and justifying the decision of the Senate, noting that there was no network in 9 states among the 36 states in Nigeria due to insecurity, and asks Nigerians to direct their grievances towards INEC, stating that the agency is responsible for deployment of technology. Mr. C, I said that I was going to make a couple of comments, but I'll let you go on this one first.
Okay, thank you. These are extremely shameful statements if they are correct and they are truly credited to the Senate President. Now I need to quote him directly as reported by the papers. Real-time transmission means that in over 9 states where networks are not working because of insecurity, there will be no election results. Nationally, it means that if the national grid collapses and no network is working, no election results will be valid. I'm quoting the Senate President verbatim as reported. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 9 states is almost 25% of the country. Let us think in first of all. No. Having that sunk in, the real question here is this a technical problem or a political issue? And I'm going to explain why. This same government can track SIM cards real time all over the country, right? But for political reasons, it's suggesting that it will be difficult to send packets of data because from each polling unit, it's just a sheet you're sending, a sheet that has been scanned. You send it as a PDF. That is what they're suggesting cannot be sent real time.
In
Now,
Nigeria?
Yes, in Nigeria. We've been celebrating the rollout of 5G.
Sorry.
Yes. We've been celebrating the rollout of 5G in urban centers, and we're now being told that this can't happen because we need to fall back to the old situation where human intervention can get in. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this because, like I said, these are extremely ridiculous statements, right? So I'm going to leave the political class with Manual coalition because previously, in the past, it has proved to be the source and the factory for electoral rigging. All this talk about inclusivity doesn't work. Now, they need to leave the door open for adjustments. Well, real-time electronic transmission shuts that out. Now, if 25% of your country, according to the Senate President, has no network, what trillion-dollar economy are you planning to build? That's one. The billions we spent on the NCC and NICOMSAT, that is the satellite company that owns 2 satellites belonging to Nigeria orbiting the Earth, what have they been spent on? Then finally, I'm closing now because we need to talk. If bandits can find the bandwidth, if terrorists, can find the bandwidth for TikTok in the middle of nowhere, why don't we have bandwidth for transparency? I rest my case.
Just one line. You see, when you say the Senate President's statement is a combination of admitted failures, no network, no ability to transmit and so on. And unlike in other situations where every year they make allocations for cars because they say certain places are inaccessible, why not make provision for there to be network rather than admitting inability to get there? It just tells you that this is all about being able to forge and fake election results. I didn't stutter.
Okay, let me throw this in. In those 9 states, right, where he claims there's no network, is he telling Nigerians that there are no banking transactions going on in those states? The banking, the banking transactions that are going on, how are they run? By magic or calabash or pigeons?
Or by
4 years ago.
By prayers to inboxes. Don't forget that.
4 years ago.
I wonder when he sent those prayers, sorry, did it get to the senators in those states or not? I'm just curious. Let's go on, please.
4 years ago, during deliberations on the 2022 Electoral Amendment Act, we're regaled with all these, with similar excuses and stories as to why that particular provision would not be allowed or could not actually work. 4 years later, we're regaled with the same stories, with the same excuses, and you just wonder the level of thinking or the level of logic or lack of thereof that the leaders
thank you,
that the leaders we have actually put forward, and for the Senate president to actually try to shift the blame to INEC, to say that if you have any grievances, look at INEC. They are the ones who have have the power to decide how they want to actually do these things. But he's also forgotten that it's due to a loophole within that provision that gives INEC the power to or not to do these things. He's being clever by half, and I feel that is extremely responsible coming from someone in his position.
Please let me list out the 9 states because I found them.
Oh, fantastic.
1, Borno. 2, Yobe. 3, Katsina. 4, Zamfara. 5, Taraba. 6, Sokoto. 7, Kebbi. 8, Niger. 9, Bayelsa.
Very interestingly, so are we saying that despite the insecurity, are we saying that INEC will not be able to get to those places to conduct the elections? Will elections happen in those places?
According to the Senate president, if it's paper voting, materials will get there, agents will get there, INEC officials will get there, everything will be counted, there will be no terror attack. Security will be maintained.
But no network to
But the moment you want to transmit,
there's no network.
There's no network because of insecurity.
Okay. Point
that well step down temporarily, because the insecurity always steps down for the election materials to go there.
Right. Let me take a few messages here before I come back to you, AB. Number of thoughts is I want to get some out of the way before they choke me at the end. Tali says, imagine the regional head within a bank coming out to say there will be no banking services in 20 to 25% of the bank's branches due to no network or whatever network issues. How quickly will that regional head be fired? It confounds the mind. God bless Jega. Wherever he is today, the loophole was built on purpose. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to you, Tutari. Thank you for your message. This is Ayo in Festac, who says, does Akpabio's thinking not even negate terrorists' ability to communicate from far remote areas? Well, like I said, logic or lack of it thereof. Tony from the Lagos Metropolis says, good morning, Ayo, Mr. C and AB. I think with Mr. Akpabio's statements, we should just prepare to have a national grid collapse on election day. I will not be surprised, in all honesty, if something like that happens.
He has given us the preemptive plan.
I will not be surprised at all if that happens. All right, AB, I'm coming back to you. Let's talk. You know what, AB, I think we should take number 6 before number 5. Number 6 is actually very interesting here.
Sounds good.
Premium Times. A new civic accountability report tracking federal government-funded projects under President Bola Tinubu's administration has uncovered cases of abandoned, uncompleted, and fraudulent projects across Nigeria. The 2024-25 project tracking report released on Thursday by Tracker, that's Budget Citizen-led monitoring platform, showed that 92 federal government-funded projects worth 15.07 billion naira were fraudulently delivered, while hundreds of others remain incomplete or have not commenced despite budgetary allocations. The report said it monitored 760 projects across 28 states. AB, this is very interesting because if I remember correctly, the president said, was it in Brazil sometime last year, that corruption had been eliminated within the country. Now, this report is coming out. What's going on?
Just as an aside, it is part of that whole statement about corruption having been eliminated as has shower in court, but we'll leave that aside. Now, they monitored projects across 28 states. Once again, some states are not even part of this. So whatever number you're seeing is incomplete. Second, this is really a story about accountability. Because when you look at it in sincerity, 2,760 and quote unquote, only 92 don't exist. That, on the surface of it, is a relatively small amount. Relatively, I didn't say it's small, it's relatively small in proportion. But 15.07 billion just disappeared. And it just tells you a lot about how the budgetary system goes. There's a graph that happened recently that I saw online where they showed that most of the money, the second highest allocation in Nigeria, goes to the budgeting system. And this is what we get at the end of the day. The states that we have this highest proportion of vague projects are Imo, Lagos, Kwara, Abia, and Ogun. 57, almost 60% of those projects are scattered in those places. And many of them have nothing to do. You don't have dams that are proposed, primary healthcare centers and all that. But, the slight silver lining is that in some cases, citizen engagement led to some projects being completed and delivered in, some primary health centers in Plateau State and some other places, Katsina. People went forward and made sure that those projects were completed in Rivers, in Akwa Ibom. And just at the end of the day, one, there is a problem with accountability. Two, if just 5% of Nigerians engage in oversight, monitoring could reach 50%. Listen, around you, wherever you are, go and remove the dust from that project notice board. Look at the contractor and the contract information, contract budget and tracker, and say, this project has been sitting down in my area, grass has overgrown it. Before you know it, there will be more projects under the radar. So we as the people need to do our little part in monitoring the projects that are cited in allocation. Forget the fact that somebody will tell us we have no network to send the information. Somehow we can make it happen.
Somehow we can definitely make it happen. All right, let me take your message. A lot of messages have already lined up here. Let me start to take the thoughts because time has absolutely flown by. Joseph Mini in Silver State in Egypt says, good morning, my ever-vibrant presenter, Ayo, and analyst, Mr. C and AB. The electoral law is now the struggle between the citizens and the Senate president and some senators who are creating different narratives just because they have laid foundations for the monumental electoral fraud they intend to perform in the 2027 elections. How did Nigeria get to this level that laws will be altered, omitting sections and tampering of signed documents, yet relevant agencies don't see anything wrong with falsification? It's just pathetic. And may God help Nigeria. May God help Nigeria indeed. And may we also help ourselves at this point in time. Gilbert Musa in Festac says, on the continuous abduction of Nigerian citizens in various states and local governments, since the April 14, 2014 Chibok incident in Borno State, it is obvious there is need for international collaboration with competent and strategic security agencies. Since 2011 till date, we continuously change our national security chiefs with no positive outcome. Okay, Mr. C, just very quickly, very quickly, just let's talk about our ambassadors. The Punch is the paper, and it says that storms will be brewing for many of President Tinubu's recently nominated ambassadors who face the prospect of being rejected by host countries due to time constraints on their tenure. What's going on here?
Okay, so what's going on here very quickly is a very embarrassing and shocking display of a failure in timing. Now, in September 2023, we withdrew our ambassadors and high commissioners, and we were told that this was a move to project world-class efficiency. Here we are, almost 3 years, more than 2 years later, and we've only been able to confirm 3 ambassadors. Now, the way it works under Article, I think it's Article 4 of the Vienna Convention of 1961 or 63, is that the receiving country has to give consent to the nominated ambassador or high commissioner.
Okay.
Now, most countries are reluctant to accept these guys because they view them as lame duck nominees, given that there's an election either this year or next year. And whatever happens, there may be a new administration come May 29th next year. So for these countries, it's too short and they don't want to take chances because there are also costs to setting up protocols. Now, how has Nigeria suffered? Nigeria's missions abroad have been run by charge d'affaires. Now, these are like the second in command to the ambassador or the high commissioner. Now, that comes with its own consequence. A charge d'affaires cannot walk into the office of the foreign minister of any country. He will not be accepted. It's only an ambassador that can do that. Now, all the MOUs we've been regaled with since June 2023. Who is following up on those MOUs? That is why there's a wide gulf between what is announced and what is received on the ground. Now, it also leaves these guys in limbo because some of them may never even assume office and it's time for another election. And then, depending on what happens, may never get into office. So, it shows the world that we're not a serious country. Then you have the Turkey incident where an individual was appointed, yet he never appeared before the Senate. So, to the world at large, it signals that there's a very strange disconnect between the Nigerian government and its own Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Right. Yeah, Ibi.
This just goes back to what I have insisted. There is administrative ineptitude, incompetence, and complete mayhem in the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. Something as basic as you withdraw ambassadors, that's fine. You identify, screen, and post. No. It actually took the US coming down hard on us, it seemingly, for us to actually start this ambassadorial process again. Nothing more to say. We have incompetence in administration.
All right, back to the messages. Ajayi Oloniloa says the decision of the Kogi state government to close selected markets and motor parks in addition to the primary and secondary schools earlier closed in the continued fight against terrorists is a proactive step to safeguard the soft targets that are often attacked by these terrorists. And it's interesting that it took a direct order from Nnamdi Kanu to end the prolonged sit-at-home protest on Mondays in the southeast. Well, I mean, who gave the initial directive? I mean, it was given and it has been taken back. All right. Michael Akinremi says, the bandits are all over Nigeria, to be honest. I have said it before. Even ChatGPT with the right prompts will perform better than the current clueless men who are chasing shadows. And Don Kelvin says, I'm sorry, the problem isn't lack of intelligence. The intelligence is there. You'd be surprised just how much the security agencies know about things you do in the comfort of your home, but seem to lack basic intelligence on terrorism. Emeka Nikeja says, the sit-at-home in the Southeast is not just about money and security, but a statement to the world about hidden injustices and maladministration generally in Nigeria and the Southeast in particular, which Nnamdi Kanu is the symbol of that expression. Okay, thank you for your message. Moj from Apapa says, good morning, everyone. The APC has 31 state governors, 90% of National Assembly members, has the police and judiciary in their pockets, yet are afraid of a free and fair election. They know that real-time transmission of results would foreclose rigging, and they know that without rigging, none of them would be re-elected. The APC is a cancer to Nigeria. Tony Marine Beach says, Senators meeting the wise decision to quench the fire before it gets out of control. These politicians know how to maneuver their way to get what they want, but I think this time, swallow cannot find its way through the esophagus. How can they be talking about the same new network after about 4 years? Aren't they ashamed of themselves? They are not sincere because this is another audacious lie that Nigerians can all see through. Tony from the Lagos Metropolis says, when the president said that corruption had been eliminated, he didn't clarify what country he was referring to. It was probably one of the many he works remotely from. Ibrahim Zakari says, good morning, Smooth Crew. It's so unfortunate that the true deficit will continue to expand between government and the governed. The Senate statement on electronic transmission is laughable. When you want to skin a dog, name it. When you want to skin a dog, name it Osama bin Laden. Akpabio is simply incredible. Well, here we are. Benito, good morning. Benito says, on INEC inability to transmit election results, we have We have Starlink coverage all over Africa, POS everywhere in Nigeria, and they take stamp duty and all levies and taxes from every Nigerians all over. Smellos in government. This is Nico in Lagos who says this rubber stamp Senate led by Akpabio will never pass this provision because they know it will affect them from presidency downwards. Because the process that brought all of them is considered to not be free and credible. They had to depend on other means to force themselves into power. Looking at the 2023 elections. Also remember, they all said on his mandate they will stand. Let me go to YouTube very, very quickly because I want to take all the thoughts this morning. David Jebu says, calling off the sit at home is funny because why were people hemmed in by non-state actors to begin with? For 5 years, just like AB said, it shows how pitiful insecurity in the country and how enabling the federal government has been regarding it. And your Feel the Radio friend says, all the headlines this morning have me very exhausted. It appears that most of the authorities are not doing due diligence. The state of things in Nigeria right now is truly tiring. Now, just imagine how we feel having to deal with this every morning. But anyway, we need to wrap it up. Time has absolutely flown by. Thank you all so very much for the messages and the contributions. Very much appreciated. AB, Mr. C, you are the real MVPs. Thank you so much. AB.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, Mr. C. And thank you for all these very, very insightful comments from the listeners. You make the show robust, and we deeply appreciate your checking in. Have a wonderful week ahead. We do not want to hear we lose any Nigerians to terrorists. Please, the most preemptive means we can do is find the terrorists where they are and use a biblical word, smite them in situ.
All right, Mr. C.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, AB. Thank you, wonderful listeners. Thank you, Data Sport. And let's just watch and have a productive week. Ignore the skits being released by the skit makers, and we'll get what we truly deserve.
Yes, indeed, we will. Let's keep on keeping on doing what it is that we need to do and remaining positive despite whatever it is that is going on in the country at the moment. My name is Ayokunmi Kekireko. Stay with us, 8:15. We'll take a walk into the locker room. It's all about sports and everything.